In 1908, author John Bennett was invited to speak with the Charleston chapter of the Federation of Women's Clubs. The author would use that moment to relay an old slave narrative which would go on to have him ousted from Society of Charleston. He wouldn't regain a proper standing until after America entered World War I. Submitted for the approval of the Wichita Society, I call this one Madame Margot, an old grotesque legend of Charleston. Everything is beautiful, everyone is beautiful, but most beautiful of all, with perhaps one exception, is Miss Marguerite Legault, Charleston's leading milliner and woman of mystery. In Bennett's story, Marguerite is a woman of mixed blood, but in the original narrative, she is a black woman. Marguerite had fallen in love with a local white man, and the two bore a child together. Their daughter, although condemned as colored like her mother, was seen as one of the most beautiful women around. This terrified her mother, who moved her out of Charleston to a cottage somewhere nearby. There, Gabriella lived a life of lonely existence with just her mother, until she saw a lad's face, laughing and debonair, with crisp golden hair curling like little flames. Gabrielle, startled, stood back and watched him for a while until he finally spoke. The two spent the afternoon together, kissing underneath the sun. For Margot, one glance at her enraptured daughter, she knew all too well where this would lead. Margot clung to the foot of a crucifix. Pourquoi odieux? She asked in a voice grown shriveled and thin. She crouched motionless, her head on the side tilted, waiting for an answer. But there was no reply. Heaven maintained its brassy silence. Her face turned gray, her eyes turned hard as stone, and she said, I will call on you no more. And with that, Margot directs her prayers in another direction, towards someone all too terrifyingly prompt to answer them. Margot begged the entity to keep her daughter whiter than snow. Forgive her in my transgressions, pardon her for my sin. Deliver her from her inheritance, O God, let her be white. Margot's bargain with the midnight visitor yields the desired result. Her daughter is shipped off to New Orleans, where memory of the young lad begins to fade. But there was another aspect of this dark agreement that was now due, of course. Margot must now pay her outstanding debt. As unbleached muslin swallows the dingy Isabella, as metal tarnishes from neglect, as white paper dulls in the sun, as a spot on the bruised fruit turns brown, Margot Legault was changing. She was becoming tawny, swart, and bisblanc, as the Creoles say. Her glorious eyes grew jaundiced. Her rose-brown lips grew dun. The delicate webs that joined the fingers grew yellow as baker's sap. Malice laughed at her lip.